So I think it's really important to look at why we're craving certain things and figure out maybe what we need, because it might be a nutritional need, absolutely, but it might be something else.
This episode is brought to you by Portfolio Box, an online portfolio made by creatives for creatives. Hey guys, it's Hardwood Rod here, and it's a new season. It's time to showcase your new work, and there's no better time than now than to use Portfolio Box. Use my promo code ROD, ROQ50, and get 50% off for 12 months. That's ROD, ROQ50. And check out portfoliobox.net today. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hardwood Rod Podcast. As we continue our health and fitness series, today I am joined by Melissa Rohlfs. She's a certified holistic health and life coach helping busy women break free from sugar and stress eating so they can be calm, confident, and at peace. We'll be talking about all of that, motherhood, and how she's adapting to this new lifestyle. That and much more. Stay locked in. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hardwood Rod Podcast. And as we continue this health and fitness series, we're going to jump into the holistic side, as far as, health and just, the lifestyle sometimes that we kind of take for granted of, the everyday grind. And today I'm joined by, she's a certified nutrition specialist, health and life coach, Melissa Rohlfs. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you for stopping by. I want to just kind of pick your brain a little bit, and I'm interested in first your story and how you got into kind of, helping people out as far as emotional stress eating and motherhood and putting, as far as, there's an interesting quote that I read on your bio, and it reads, "As women, we are stressed and overwhelmed, and we put ourselves last," right? As far as, a family is concerned. Talk to us about that and a little bit about yourself for the audience, and we'll kind of dive into the rest.
Sure. Well, I think I'll start off with my story so people know who I am and a little bit of my come from.
Perfect.
I'm a holistic health and life coach, and I specialize in helping people break free from sugar and emotional and stress eating so that they can be calm, confident, and at peace, because this was my journey. I very much grew up on kind of the standard American diet, started hiding Pop-Tarts and cookies and candy bars in my room around age 8. So even my emotional eating goes back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And have always loved sugar and didn't realize that I was using it to kind of stuff my feelings, that I was using it to push down feelings. I was using it to try to make myself feel better. And my breaking point, was after I had gotten married, we had children, I had a newborn baby who was not sleeping through the night. So I was exhausted.
Yeah.
Also had a 2-year-old little girl who had some sensory challenges and some undiagnosed food intolerances going on. So that was interesting. My husband was traveling for work, and I had just gotten a PTSD diagnosis from childhood trauma that hadn't been resolved. And so that was my breaking point. And that's when, as a mom, I'm like, you know what? I need to take care of myself. I need to put my health as a priority, and I need to work on me because I'm not able to serve my family in the way that I want. And so through that diagnosis, I met with a naturopath. She did some testing, and my vitamin and my mineral levels were tanked because I was living off of sugar and carbs and Diet Dr. Pepper and lattes and not getting any nutritional value at all. So learned about the importance of supplementation, and then learned about the importance of whole food, and really changed my life. And so I felt called to go to school and help other women who are where I was. That's the nutshell version.
Yeah. I think a lot of women can relate to that, especially mothers, right? Because I think, my wife, she's been through that. She even admitted, she had a little bit of depression, after our third child. And, it kind of takes a toll, right? And sometimes, you mentioned, husband's traveling, and you feel sometimes alone, right?
Yes.
In the game of life sometimes. And I feel like everybody has different situations. We deal with the situations differently, and our breaking points, it's almost like a measure for ourselves, right? At what point is enough, right? And for
Yes.
for yourself, you got to that point, but you did something about it. So you know for the audience, what is something that you did for yourself that helped you deal with the situation, and eventually turned yourself to, now you're a coach.
hmm I got help. I think that's the biggest thing. I think as people, and I think especially maybe even as a parent, we think that we have to hold it all together and we have to do it on our own.
Mm.
And it's okay to ask for help. Like parenting is really, really hard, and
Oh,
there's no
yes.
manual, there's no guide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask for help. And I think in doing that, we show our kids that it's okay to ask for help as well, because we so much is caught rather than taught with parenting. And so if we can, have the humility, I guess, to ask for help and acknowledge that it's easier to journey with someone, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, you hit it on the nose as far as asking for help. And me, being a husband, father, friend, son, that sometimes, as being the male figure, sometimes we don't want to show that sign of
hmm
weakness, right? Or vulnerability, right? Where it's like, I can't show sign of weakness at this time of my life, or because there's a lot on you, right? So, but
hmm
sometimes we do have to seek help, and being vulnerable, is actually, it helps you. Like it's actually a good thing. It's not like a bad thing. And I've learned that myself, through experiences, that sometimes we need to ask for help. And with you and your story, now that you've done this, right? You've asked for help, and you've gone through this. It's never ending, right? It's we don't just ask for help one time. It's through life we have to continue to evolve, and work at it every day. So how are you doing right now, as far as especially this past year, right? How did that
hmm
affect, as far as dealing with that situation? Because it's, for a lot of people, that was tough.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just telling my husband that not too long ago. If this had happened, several years ago, I don't know where I would be right now. But because I did the work and I got help and I invested in my healing journey, it was okay. And it was funny because I even had people comment on social media of, "Oh my gosh, you're always so positive and you're doing great." And I think through my journey, I learned resilience and I learned how to pivot and I learned how to handle things that come at you and not turn to food to stress eat those feelings or the emotions and to kind of push it down, but to really feel the feeling and work through it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people right now that are with the kids, homeschooled, and
hmm
job situation might be not so stable. It's a lot of people are on that edge, right? And
hmm
I feel like people like you, it's they're they're here to help, right? And balancing motherhood, and like you mentioned, me time, right? How do you juggle that, as far as making priority for yourself sometimes, right? When my wife, sometimes she does, sometimes I like, hey, you know what, like, you know have some time for you, right? Because
hmm
sometimes it feels like, if I'm working, it's a lot, right? You got to deal with the kids, especially now. She's a teacher, she's a mother, she's
Mm,
a wife, she's all these things, right? But when is it time to, time for me, right? So that's the tricky part, right?
It is the tricky part because I think we have some guilt around that, like, oh, I shouldn't leave my family or I shouldn't do this for me. But the reality is, for me, it's made me a better version of myself for my family. So I think the key really is finding when works for you. For me, I get up before my family in the morning and I have my quiet time, I drink my lemon water, I exercise, and that just sets my day off on the right foot. Some people, they find it's better for them to do it in the evening. So find a time where you can carve out, 30, 45, an hour, however long for yourself, and just put that on your calendar to make yourself a priority. Because I think we get so, caught up in everybody else's things that we forget to put ourselves on our own calendar.
Right. And what's like a popular question that people tend to ask you like for advice? What's something where it's like they always ask you the same question, and it's just obvious where it's like, oh, maybe I need to focus on this a little more, you know?
I think the question I get asked the most is, what diet should I be on? And I'm
Hmm.
like, you know what? There is no one diet for everybody. The one that works best for you is the one that your body responds to. We're all different. We can't, expect to have the diet that's marketed to the masses work for us because we're all unique and we're all individuals. So learn to listen to your body. I think slowing down is really powerful. Slow down, listen to your body, make some time for yourself, and figure out what works best for you, because it's not one size fits all.
Okay, okay. So like speaking of the diet, how are you handling that situation, right? Like what, on the topic of stress eating, and women have this kind of label where it's like they begin to, what is it called, the emotional eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where talk to us about that. Sometimes it could be a serious condition.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think part of it is really retraining your brain and your habits. I love neuroplasticity because we can change how our minds think and we can change our habits, and we really are capable of change, even
Hmm.
though we maybe have been led to believe that we can't. So I'm a big proponent on, looking at why we do what we do. When are you drawn to emotionally eat? When are you eating to maybe, not feel bored, or to not feel lonely, or to maybe feel happy? Or I have a woman I worked with once. This is really an interesting story. She did not like cheese and crackers, but she found herself craving cheese and crackers. And so through working together, we discovered that cheese and crackers signified a really happy time in her family when everybody was together and there was a lot of harmony and joy and peace. And so for her, she was craving cheese and crackers when she didn't have that feeling in her life. So I think
Got it.
it's really important to look at why we're craving certain things and figure out maybe what we need, because it might be a nutritional need, absolutely, but it might be something else. And so I believe a craving is a messenger of something maybe that we need, maybe an unmet need. And it
Yeah.
could be connection, it could be, a little more adventure in our life, it could be variety, whatever that is. If we can step back and get curious on why we're craving, I think that's where real change can happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like as far as the craving aspect, because when we have cravings, we don't really second think it like it's I'm just craving strawberries, or
Mm-hmm.
but we don't think of why am I craving it, or why am I always craving this at this certain
Mm-hmm.
time, so there's a lot of, you could say, oh, it's a, like you said, right, it's maybe a empty feeling, at a certain time, or maybe like it's a memory, right, like we have
Mm-hmm.
that kind of like, what is it, deja vu, sometimes like,
Uh-huh.
hey, I feel like I've been here, but I don't know exactly, I can't pinpoint exactly, but maybe that, it just kind of, it's that weird kind of feeling sometimes. But that's interesting, the craving aspect of it. I never really thought of it as a, what's the reason I'm craving this for, it's just I'm just hungry, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think a lot of times we think we are hungry and we might just be dehydrated. That could be another thing. But what I think, if we can ask, what am I hungry for? Is it food? Is it something else?
hmm. So like the topic of stress eating, right,
Mm-hmm.
just a simple question, why do people do it, and what are the steps that, like, people to manage it or control it, right, like, we talked on the subject of craving, but as far as stress eating, and why do you think we do it, right, and what are your ways, or how do you kind of manage that as far as, controlling it?
Yeah, so I think that we stress eat or emotional eat because we are experiencing a feeling that maybe makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so we want to try to stuff it down. And we can do that with food. That was my go-to, but I think, people also do it with drugs and alcohol and other shopping can even be a thing.
Right.
Um, but I think it's trying to not feel that discomfort or that pain or that emotion that we don't want to feel, either because we don't know what to do with it or we've been told that it's bad to be XYZ. It's bad to feel XYZ. And so I think we hold on to that memory or that idea that this feeling is bad. I need to get rid of it. And so I think that that's why we do it. It's because we're not comfortable with something. And so we're trying to avoid or numb that feeling. Um, and as far as what I do, I have a Finding Freedom program where we really get to the root of what's going on. I teach women how to listen to their body, how to honor their hunger and fullness. There's a really powerful session we have on woundology where we look at some past hurts and we figure out maybe where some of those beliefs came from so we can replace the false belief with the truth and really kind of work on that truth going forward and living from that truth in place of health and wholeness.
What was that called? Windology?
Woundology, yes. It's
Okay.
powerful because a lot of times there's something that has happened that's impacted us that we're not even aware of, and it gets into our subconscious and we just live with that belief and we kind of adopt it and it might not even be true.
Drop, breathe, hustle. Hey, it's Hardwood Rod here, and Hustle Drops is a new product that utilizes a number of natural vasodilators to relax and expand your airways. Expanded airways equals more oxygen in and more CO2 out. More available oxygen leads to a variety of performance benefits, including faster processing, stronger muscles, and increased endurance. Check them out at hustledrops.com and use my promo code ROD10 for 10% off your first order. So, are your programs? How many types of programs do you have? Is it all based on off of as far as like a? I'm curious to see what, adding some exercise to the regimen, right? Like to the program. Do you provide those as well?
My focus is more on the mindset, the habit, and our relationship with food. Um, but my primary focus is women and mothers and just helping them find that freedom to be their authentic selves.
Okay,
And
okay.
I think it is, to answer your other question, sorry, an integration of health and life because you can't have one without the other, right? Like if you're not healthy, you're not able to live fully and have that full life. And so they're so interconnected. You can't really touch one without the other, it seems.
Yeah, it's all, even in fitness, right? You have to connect your mind and your body in order to,
Yes.
so it's kind of the same thing, right? So I found that people that feel depressed or just don't have energy to do anything or not motivated, they lack that just movement, right? Exercise
Mm-hmm.
in their
Mm-hmm.
life, right? Or the routine, right? It's
Yes.
it's a habit. So I feel like, when you even going out for a walk, it it stimulates your mind, right? Where you feel good, even if it's a little bit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it goes hand in hand. And do you find that kind of, as far as when you're dealing with some of your clients, where or they might even say, hey, I don't have time to go out and go to the gym or work out, but do you find that where it's like women or mothers that feel kind of depressed are not as active as they should?
That's a big part of it, absolutely. And I think that and diet really make a big impact because sugar, I mean, that impacts our mental, health as well.
Yeah,
So I think it's definitely the combination of the fitness and the nutrition is really where that sweet spot is in kind of combating those feelings of anxiety or depression or whatever that is because exercise is so powerful.
it is. It is. And if you have, someone listening right now and they're dealing with depression, what's a word of advice that you would tell them?
Yeah, I think the first thing would just be to realize that you matter and that you're worth taking care of. Because I think when you have that belief and you know that you matter and you're worth taking care of, it's easier to exercise. It's easier to nourish your body with the foods that make it feel good because you're operating from the mindset of I matter. I have value. Just like with our children, right? We see that they matter, we see their value, and so we pour into them. So I think we just need to flip that and pour into ourselves as well. And it might be something there's so many small things we can do, and I love the saying that small hinges open big doors because if you think
Mm,
about it, big change happens by doing the same steps consistently over time. So
yep.
make sure that you're staying hydrated, make sure that you're getting enough sleep, make sure that you're moving. There are simple things you can do, even as a busy person, to integrate some healthy habits into your day.
Yeah, so that's kind of I should have mentioned like the busy woman filling that time into their schedule, and I think women sometimes it's just kind of like, oh, like I need me time, and it happens a lot. When I talk to my wife, so try to find some time where it's like obviously we balance it out, right? It's not just her, it's both of us, right? We have to as men, I think we have to always remind them that we're here also, like it's not just you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's a team effort, right? It's There's not one perfect method to this thing called life, but especially when we have kids running around and things are not going as well, bills, work, it just all comes sometimes all just boom, just coming down on you. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just a lot where you just got to take it a step at a time, right? Little by little, and you start choosing away until like where it's you're overcome, right? If it's that or whatever it is, you bring out a lot of good points. And now that we're at this point, you're still conquering those small hills. So what's your schedule like? Are you working full time, or are you at home with your kids? How are you coping with everything right now?
That's a good question. I feel like, when the kids are in their school hours, I'm very much working from home. But then
Okay.
other times I'm shuttling and I'm doing all the things. So I feel like for me, I have to time block. I'm a big fan of that. It works best for me, to make sure I've got my me time in the morning and then I have set work hours. And then I have time for dinner prep. And so it's flexible, but it's also pretty scheduled.
Yeah, yeah, but working from home, that I mean, me, I've been fortunate enough to be working from home for now pretty much a year,
Hmm.
and things are changing, and I love it, right? I love it because I'm home, right? I get to,
Yes.
if my wife needs to go out to go grocery shopping, I
Yes.
have that flexibility where she could leave the kids here, or you know, if we need to do something, I'm here, and it's not just her. So that's what I love about, you know, being able to work from home. So that's kind of it's a plus for me, a big plus.
And your wife appreciates it too, I'm sure, because my husband just went back a few weeks ago, so we're kind of adjusting.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing where you know a lot of my friends and family members, they're going back too. So it's almost like when you go after high school, you go back after summer. I feel like
Yes.
for a lot of people that's kind of like, oh, it's like the first day of school.
Yes.
Before we wrap here, I want to talk about the training or programs you provide, and where can people kind of find you as far as coaching and just finding a little bit of help.
Yeah, absolutely. My website is www.free, the number two, and the letter B, coaching.com. So free2be coaching.com. And I have freebies on there. I have all of my offerings. I have one-on-one packages. I have online courses. I have a membership. So really whatever people need and can afford and have the time for. I don't want it to be a burden either in time or finances. So lots of options.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And can people find you on social media?
Yes, thank you. Facebook is Happy Healthy Mama, and Instagram is free to be underscore coaching.
Perfect, perfect. And what's one piece of advice, before we wrap here, for all the mothers and women out there, especially, trying to go back and, to reality as far as, going back to normal now?
I think the biggest piece of advice, and this is funny because I find myself saying this a lot and it applies to so many situations, but replace judgment with curiosity. I think a lot of times we're really quick to judge, whether it's a food as good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. Maybe it's the way someone treated us, maybe it's the way someone spoke to us, whatever. And we're really easy to and quick to judge. But if we can step back and replace that with curiosity and maybe say, why did that happen? Why did I want that? Why did I respond that way? And we kind of look within. It's quite a bit easier to navigate because I think there's been a lot of division and a lot of just yuck this past year. And I think if we can step back and get curious, I think that's really powerful. And it's great for parenting too.
Oh yes, yes it is. That's a perfect way to kind of close it out. Just so yeah. So if you guys are interested in getting coached, or just want some answers, or just want to just contact Melissa, feel free to reach out to her. And just to repeat, her website is free2becoaching.com. So thanks, Melissa, for stopping by and joining us on this health and fitness series.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful to visit with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, and I hope you guys are staying safe out there, and just keep on doing what you're doing, and we'll catch you on the next one, Melissa.
Thank you.
See you guys.
And don't forget to subscribe and check out the latest episodes on the website. Follow us on social media at Hardwood Rod. And don't forget, every Tuesday we got the latest and greatest. So stay locked in. Would you like to be on the podcast? Got something to talk about? Make sure to head over to the website at hardwoodrod.com. Leave your name and the topic you'd like to discuss, and I'll add you to the calendar.